When we get back, if you're breaking out in a cold sweat this morning because you still haven't done your taxes, relief is on the way in the form of tax guru Roni Deutch. She's here with some last-minute tax tips. Stay with us. More Money for Breakfast is on its way.
On the day before Tax Day, the mood of Main Street may be any number of emotions. Americans are scrambling to beat the clock. Last year, 138 million tax returns were filed, and of those returns, 1.4 million, or 1%, were audited by the IRS. Now, given the country's economic downturn, the IRS is expected to audit close to 10% of all those returns this year. That's not good, according to our next guest, tax resolution attorney Roni Deutch. Good morning.
Good morning, Alexis. Thank you for having me.
It is great having you. We've just put the fear of God in our viewers. So let's explain to people why it is that the IRS would choose to audit as many as 10% versus that 1% that we talked about last year.
The mood on Main Street is affecting the IRS. It's putting them in a bad mood, actually, Alexis, because people cannot afford to pay their taxes when they lose their jobs. Look at the businesses out there. Look at the corporations. Everyone is struggling to pay revenue to the IRS. And the IRS is a business, just like any other business. They need money to survive. So how are they going to get that money, Alexis, if people out there are not paying taxes? Very simple. They're going to audit people at unprecedented rates, and audits are absolutely miserable.
And let's face facts, we've been living off of those great tax receipts, or at least the government has been for many years. Just explain this to us in layman's terms here. What exactly is an audit? How does it work, and how would I be affected if I were audited?
Two types of audits generally. You're going to get a letter correspondent audit. Dear Mr. Taxpayer, we have bad news for you. We want you to substantiate something on your tax return. So, Alexis, when you get that letter, they're focusing on one item, maybe two. Send it in without delay. Respond accordingly and substantiate whatever it is they're looking for on your tax return. The other type of audit is worse. That is a field audit, and I believe field audits are going to increase, Alexis. It's like going on a fishing expedition. The IRS is going to show up at your business, knock on the door, surprise, good morning, Alexis, I'm going to audit you, and I'm going to look at everything. So audits are horrible, but I advise people, do not panic. Take that deep breath, focus on the issues at hand. Do not engage the IRS in idle chatter. Many times when you're with the IRS, even if you're 100% honest, you have nothing to hide. They make you nervous.
They do. I mean, this happened to my husband. He's a small business owner. He was audited about 4 years ago. Let me ask you this question. Does it happen, is there truth that you cannot be audited within a 7-year period if you have been audited, or is that just nonsense?
There are so many myths about audits.
Okay.
Do not believe any myths that you've heard about audits. What I want you to rely on is your documentation. It is so critical to be able, as your husband 4 years ago in his audit, to substantiate every item on that tax return. We're talking about things as easy as how much money did you make? Why did you deduct that car expense?
Right.
Just have the documentation available.
Okay, Roni, tomorrow's tax day. We got, what, 24 hours to get it done. Give me some tips or advice if you're sitting there at home and you're in panic mode.
I think the most important point about tomorrow, if you're not prepared, do not file your tax return. The economy is making people desperate, Alexis, and people may be putting numbers on there that they shouldn't because they believe they won't be audited. So you put numbers down that you believe are okay, you file that return tomorrow, and you can't substantiate it in the future. I say, don't file that tax return unless you're ready. You're legally entitled to an extension. You can get a 3-month extension, a 6-month extension.
But you pay interest on it, right?
Hey, Alexis, I think it's better to pay interest on the day that you finally file than file a return where 2 + 2 does not equal 4.
Can we hire you still in the next 24 hours? Can anybody at home right now?
What is so cool is that we have 40 hours to freedom at the Roni Deutch Tax Centers. You bet. We will not be sleeping for the next 40 hours, so anyone can hire us.
Find you.
RoniDeutch.com,
Okay.
RDTC.com. You got 40 hours to freedom, but it's almost over. And then the wonderful change in season occurs, and it's baseball season, and you and I can enjoy that.
All right, Roni Deutch, you are a pleasure to have on.
Thank you so much,
much.
Alexis.
Great advice. We really appreciate it.
Really appreciate my time with you, too. Thank you so much,
Wonderful
Alexis.
seeing you again. All right, well, of course, tomorrow is the deadline to file your taxes, and the clock is ticking, so make sure you take care or you call Roni. All right, now it's time to take a look at the Fox 50.
Okay.